People of Reddit. What do you remember being the worst thing about being a kid? People, e.g. teachers, could blame you for whatever or give exaggerated punishments and you had little voice to correct things. Someone tried to suspend me from school cause I once rolled my eyes once at a school dance. I had Perthes disease in my right hip and it hurt to run. I told my PE teacher, she told me to stop faking, she let a popular girl sit out for the whole PE lesson, 3 hours, because she had a splinter in her finger. I was sent to the principal's office for, and I quote, stealing someone's friend. The accuser literally just walked up to our group talking and grabbed one of my friends by the arm and tried to drag them away. Of fucking course I told him to knock it off. The best part is that it happened twice, the second time was the following day. Time dragging. Everything when you're a kid just takes so damn long. Unless it's something fun you're doing. Edit bonus, my favorite Calvin and Hobbes, such a great comic strip. This is the one for me. There's plenty of things that sucked, but they all come back around to the fact that everything bad or boring felt like it took 10 times as long as it feels now, and things were boring far more often. Yup. I have vivid memories of sitting in classes just watching the clock tick the seconds by and days feeling like years to switch over. Yet, weekends and holidays seemed to blow by. Now I'm 39 and life is galloping along. Teachers being assholes, other children being cruel cunts, adults talking about your appearance/demeanor, as if you couldn't hear or understand. I so vividly remember the way adults used to talk over my head, as though I couldn't understand a word they were saying. It's fucking bizarre. I can relate, parents fighting at home, children's getting too far with the bully thing, teachers getting mad because you can't look to the front because the a-hole who sits behind you is trying to cut your hair or burning your neck, directives and your father's talking about how you don't study or because you puck some other kid in the face. Forced to visit abusive by a father until I was old enough for the courts to believe me. Hugs. Yeah. I remember being really happy when my dad's place caught fire. I never had to spend the night there again. I don't remember how the fire started, but that was one of the best days of my life. My psycho, Pentecostal grandmother not letting me have a childhood at all. If you've ever read Carrie by Stephen King, Carrie's mom was on point with my grandmother, so much so that I couldn't finish the book because it was chillingly accurate. Interest peaked. Grew up in Pentecostal family, but had a relatively positive experience. Finding it harder though as an adult with children to break free from my mother's expectations of how to raise a child. We don't attend church. It's a sore subject. On an unrelated note, have you been to prom? Being told stop lying when trying to tell my parents about being molested by my grandfather. He confessed on his deathbed. Out of wanting some resolution to this situation, which clearly was much more difficult and left unresolved for much longer for you, did that get your parents to commit to any sort of acknowledgement? I was the younger of 2 brothers. 3 years of difference between us, yet whatever I said was treated as out of the mouth of a madman. When I was 8,9-ish, he beat me up because of Warcraft 3, me winning over him. He threw me on the wooden frame of the bed multiple times until I didn't even dare to crawl anymore. He had fun shutting the door in front of my face, because I, the madman, didn't get keys until like 5 years after him. It was made of glass, he throws it shut, I wanted to keep it open. When coming to the realization what had happened, that I got a deep like 6 centimeters cut, he looked through the new door opening, pulling the door open, pushing me aside and running to my mom, telling her I broke the door just hitting it because I felt like it. Still to this day, when the story was told, my mum always says she was around and I fist punched the glass door. Sure thing. I also got molested repeatedly over the span of 2 years by my brother's best friend who was 15 at the time, me being 10 or 11. My brother shrugged his shoulders, acting like it's not his fault, whatever we do while he was playing PC. Knowing all too well dude groped girls in his class. When I told my brother, he said, well, you never seemed unhappy or sad, so couldn't have bothered you. When I came to the realization years after, and I told my mom, she said, well, what am I supposed to do now? You should have talked about it when it happened. And I could go on. Lived with bipolar mother until I was 12. Wasn't a fun experience. My Phil is bipolar and man, it is exhausting as an adult. Especially when he is unmedicated. I'm relieved he and my Mill divorced when my husband was young. The damage he managed to do in that time was bad enough. I hope you've found peace in your adult life. I believe my mother is bipolar. Massive mood swings at a moment's notice and no memory of the wild tirades. She refuses to believe there is something wrong. I and my father don't talk to her anymore and my life is much better, his too. Whenever I was going through something, people were like, oh, you're just over-exaggerating. I wasn't. Similar, being told it's just your age. Turns out it was depression. If you get hurt, it's not going to kill you. If you complain about food, are you going to cook the food? Like I can't operate an oven at 6 WTF. If you are crying over maths homework half the night, it's so simple. If you are just sad, it only gets worse from here. Having worse emotional regulation, negative emotions can definitely be overwhelming at any point in life, but not having any strategies to calm down due to life experience was pretty awful in hindsight. Notice how most toddlers and little kids cry and throw tantrums at random times. Most adults have learned to control or repress those feelings more appropriately. I still remember when one of my friends was little, seeing her crying quietly to herself, so I asked her what was wrong. My favorite crayon broke, she said sadly, showing me the crayon with its tip snapped off. She's almost 19 now, graduated high school with honors, and is an essential worker during the pandemic and definitely doesn't cry over crayons anymore. You may have been emotionally neglected by your primary caregivers. There's research to show that children who are emotionally neglected struggle to self-soothe through early childhood into adulthood. Source: Mum's tuna pasta bake every single Friday night. Every Friday night. I haven't eaten tuna since. My family used to make squash casserole multiple times a week. Disgusting. I can still remember exactly what it tasted like. And by family I am talking parents, grandparents, and even my cousins, who lived next door. So still, no escape. I love tuna bake and pasta bake, but mum never made them frown. Poor and hungry. Same. Never had my own clothes, only wear those that my brother or father grew over. Sorry to hear that. Being told to suppress emotions. Now I barely open up to people, unless I can really trust you. But even that fails, cause most of my friends just screw me over. I want to give a hug, but have this free award from a broke Redditor. Having to go to bed at 9 PM, if I had to do that now I might be up at 3 AM wondering where the sun was. My bedtime was 7:30 PM until I hit second grade. Then it got pushed up to 9 PM, which lasted until I was 11, and basically my mom got tired of harassing me to go to bed. I would still get in trouble if she noticed my bedroom lights were on past 10 though. I'm the same even if I work at like 9:30 or 11 AM, then I will go to sleep at like 12 if I have a bedtime I can't go to sleep at the time, but if I am working late I just stay up until I fall asleep. The beatings. The justification later, sometimes accompanied by a well-rehearsed sob story about how bad they had it when they were kids. I was only beaten a few times, but my parents both drank and did come and crack when they couldn't afford the coke, so it was very common for them to fighting every weekend, and my dad would often beat my mom. Finally when I was 16 or 17 I was quite a bit bigger than he was and they were fighting, and he was throwing her around on the front porch. I just looked at him and told him to fight me instead. He was so drunk and fucked up I was able to easily dodge the first punch he threw, grab his arm and turn him around and get him into a chokehold. Then I just dropped to the ground bringing him with me and had my sister call the cops. He spent a night or two in jail, but after that he stopped hitting my mom and they both cleaned up and we got a really good relationship now, but growing up with all that going on was pretty fucked. Looking back at it, having to bum my parents to drive me everywhere was a gigantic pain in the ass. The real reason I adore functioning and safe public transport is how much more independence it grants and how many doors it opens to hobbies etc. when you are not limited to your immediate surroundings. The environmental benefits are great and all, but do you know how amazing it is to be able to do something else than the two sports offered by the nearest sports club? To be fair, I still do this on weekends cause I drink too much. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.